We're back then with another class breakdown video for Tiny Tina's Wonderland. We've done 3 previous videos in this series where we had a look at the Graveborn, the Berserker and the Spellshot. Today we'll have a look at the Clawbringer class. I would say probably quite similar to a Paladin style class. He's using a mixture of fire and lightning attacks, and he has a nice amount of tankiness thrown in there as well. Now in the video we're going to cover really just about everything you need to know for the game coming out. We start off with a general breakdown of the character. We then move on to their class feat, which is essentially a high level passive that each of the classes gains access to. It is a unique passive as well, I should say. You then have your action skills, of which there are 2 of them, and then we check out the passives, and there is as many as 6 different tiers of passives, so there's a fair amount of them there. So as mentioned, it will be the Clawbringer class that we're having a look at today, so let's jump in. Let's start off with the general breakdown first. So we actually have this official description from the website here. Clawbringers focus on fire and lightning damage. The Clawbringer's dragon aura empowers their whole party with additional fire damage and more. They can either throw their spectral hammer at enemies to deal sizzling lightning damage. If you followed me from Marvel games, this is the closest we'll get to a 4 build, I would imagine. And you can slam it down on the ground to create a massive fire nova, so you're going for fire or lightning with this setup. Their trusty companion flies at their side, breathing fire upon their enemies and raking them with razor sharp claws. So that's just a quick breakdown. Let's go in now, let's talk about their class feat. So the class feat then is actually the companion that was mentioned a moment ago. So with this, the Clawbringer is accompanied by I think it's Wyvern, how you say it, or Wyvern, I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments below. I'll just call them a companion for now. They're accompanied by a companion that flies through the environment and attacks enemies with its claws and fire breath. Any increase to the Fate Maker's damage will also apply to their companions as well. So I believe of the characters we've looked at, that's at least 3 or 4 characters that actually have companions as an option, which is actually really pretty interesting, and you can double up in these, because of course you can run dual class where you can have 2 classes active at the same time, which means you'll have 2 companions if they come as part of that class's particular kit. But that is the class feat. Let's check out the active skills now. With the active skills here, each class has access to 2 of these. Of course, once again, with the dual class system, you can mix and match which ones you actually want to assign. But the one we've got here is Cleansing Flames. So the Fate Maker summons their hammer, slams it into the ground, dealing melee damage, creating a massive fire nova, dealing fire ability damage to nearby enemies. The next active ability we have here is Storm Dragon's Judgments. This is your 4 ability here. The Fate Maker summons her hammer and hurls it, dealing lightning ability damage to all enemies it touches. It sticks wherever it lands and deals lightning melee damage every second to all nearby enemies. The Fate Maker can recall the hammer, damaging enemies along its path, ending the action skill early and refunding a portion of the cooldown. So that is the action abilities. Let's talk about the passives now. With the passives here, we have 6 different tiers from them. You'll generally pick 1 passive from each of the tiers, the way the points work in the game, and that will allow you to then go on to the next tier. Now, looking at tier 1 here, we've got Oath of Fire. The Fate Maker deals bonus fire damage with their guns and their Withering Companion. It deals bonus fire damage as well. We then have Radiance. The Fate Maker gains increased maximum ward capacity. That will be for your tank setup. And then we have Oath of Thunder. The Fate Maker deals bonus lightning damage with their melee attacks, and their companion deals bonus lightning damage. So it looks like the setup you can essentially run with this, and you'll see this theme repeated in the later tiers. And you can either go for a tanky setup, you can go for a ranged setup with fire, or you can go for a melee setup with lightning. But that's tier 1. Let's have a look at the next one. For tier 2, we start off with Dragon Aura. The Fate Maker is surrounded by a Dragon Aura that grants himself and all allies inside it increased elemental damage. I don't think I've really seen any other classes so far that I've looked at that have team-wide buffs such as this, so that is an interesting element. We then have Dedication. The Fate Maker gains increased action skill cooldown rate. The higher the ward, the greater the bonus. So think back to the middle bonus we had in the previous tier that was increasing the amount of ward you had, so the 2 of them synergise together. And then we have Rebuke. The Fate Maker gains damage reduction from all attacks. Additionally, all enemies near the Fate Maker gain a chance to deflect damage back to their attackers as lightning damage. So once again, a team-based buff there. We then have our tier 3 passive. This one is genuinely a stronger one. This one is called Blastamut's Favour. So this is a kill skill. You'll get this on enemy defeat. Killing an enemy with a gun summons a fire orb that seeks out a new enemy, dealing fire ability damage. Killing an enemy with melee damage summons a lightning orb that seeks out an enemy, dealing lightning ability damage. Kill skills, of course, can be nice if you're going up against a large group of enemies, but they're really quite situational. If you're going up against a boss, for example, and there's maybe not any minions around, then you're not actually gaining the bonus from it. Some other classes I've seen have been able to have ways to activate a kill skill without actually killing an enemy. I don't see anything like this in this kit, so it pulls this ability down a little bit, I'm afraid. Moving on to tier 4, we actually have a fair amount going on here. So you've got Firebolt first. The companion will occasionally shoot firebolts at enemies, causing damage in an area and leaving a splat. Additionally, the Fate Maker gains increased gun damage. You then have Friend to Flame, so the Fate Maker's companion gains increased damage, and then we have Storm Breath. The companion will occasionally use its lightning breath on enemies, causing lightning damage that can arc from enemy to enemy. Additionally, the Fate Maker gains increased damage reduction, so again this one could probably tie in with the tanky setup. Imagine if you're going for a tanky setup, by the looks of it, it will be the lightning abilities that you're wanting to use. For tier number 5 here, we have Awe. So this particular one, after dealing fire damage, the Fate Maker gains increased critical hit damage. After dealing lightning damage, the Fate Maker gains increased critical hit chance. We then have Indomitable. This particular one, if the Fate Maker would enter Save Your Soul, so that's essentially when you are downed, instead they refill their ward and deal bonus lightning damage for a short time. This skill has a long cooldown, so yeah, definitely looking at it. If you want to go for a tanky setup, it's all based around your lightning passives and abilities as well there. But let's check out the final tier. We finish up here then with Storm Smite. This one, whenever the Fate Maker activates an action skill, they call down elemental bolts that deal fire ability damage or lightning ability damage to all enemies. I'm not sure how you choose which one you're actually proccing there. But that's all the passives. Now this by far has actually been the shortest video I've done yet. The reason being that I think the kit for this particular class looks really pretty simple, and I think it looks a little bit disappointing, to be honest. The last character I looked at was the Graveborn, and they looked absolutely incredible. They had so many different build playstyles. With this one, it looks like you're essentially just going for fire, lightning, or a little spot of tankiness. A little bit disappointing. I will say, if you're looking to build a tanky class, if you were to actually dual class going the Berserker as well, you'd be able to get an incredibly tanky setup. So that would be called, rather than the Berserker, it's going to be the Clawbringer. I think you'll see a lot of tank setups that actually run that. But let me know what you think of this particular class in the comments below, and thanks for tuning in, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon.